economy is only half successful because the subnationals literally control half or more than half of the economy. So we need to have that holistic conversation across bipartisan line so that at the end of the day, we will be working toward achieving the same objective, because we have one economy, one macroeconomic policy objectives, one people. The fundamental developmental challenges that are happening in Ilela in terms of lack of water supply and access to education. A child in Ilela, Sokoto State, that is having such a problem, the same child in Port Harcourt, Rivers, or a community in Sagbama, where I serve during my NYSC, is having the same problem. It doesn't, developmental challenges don't know color, don't know region, don't know location, don't know ethnicity. We are all having such problems, and as such, the earlier we start the conversation, the better. But importantly also, is the need for us to look carefully and devise alternative funding strategies for sustainable delivery of infrastructure. Of course, what the federal government is doing is excellent, but going by the experiences of other countries, going by the economic fundamentals and potentials that this economy possesses, going by the fact that we are the biggest economy in Africa, the largest market in Africa, going by the fact that Nigerians are one of the most resilient and hardworking people that you can find anywhere in the world, the government needs to complement those futuristic qualities of Nigerians with thinking and talking and discussing with every strata, how do we improve on infrastructure funding using public-private partnership, not only at the federal level, but also at the state government level. Because we tend to make fundamental mistakes at the federal level, thinking that if the federal government level is okay, the state may copy. No. We must devise out-of-the-box strategies in order to succeed. And I have said it yesterday during the retreat of national planning at Hilton Transcorp, that we had an agency of government in Nigeria that have developed a model of project delivery that have succeeded with no abandoned project, and that is Tertiary Education Trust Fund. So going forward, since we are going back to the culture of national development planning, we need to have a special funding basket at the federal government level to serve as a stimulus for attainment of every single developmental intervention that is so defined within the plan through a counterpart funding strategy, and maybe copying from the tertiary education fund project delivery model in such a way that you are now literally forcing the states to become efficient, but with financial stimulation and incentive.
You know, Professor,
just a minute, please. You can join the conversation. A couple of calls came in when we took reports across the states. We missed them. The lines are open. Keep the calls coming and join the conversation. You can also join us via tweets. A couple of tweets have also come in. We'll take them just after the break. And the focus once again is part 2 of the economic stimulus infrastructure plan. Just after this time out. Don't go away.
Okay.
Nigerians, our fearless officers and men of the Nigerian military are winning the war against Boko Haram. Today, all occupied territories have been recovered and Boko Haram has been degraded. Our affected brothers and sisters are getting their lives back. However, they are now after you and me. In our mosques, churches, schools, motor parks, markets, entertainment centers, and public gatherings. Be vigilant. Be security conscious. Report suspicious persons, objects, and movements to the police and other security agencies. The security of our nation is a duty for you and me. Nigeria unite against terrorism. This message is brought to you by the Federal Ministry of Information and Culture.
The struggle for independence had been a long and tough one. Our founding fathers and compatriots sacrificed their comfort and even shed their blood. We cannot at this point in history afford to spirit away their sacrifices for immediate but temporary gains of today. Let us emphasize what unites and not what divides us. Working for the unity of purpose with a stronger vision for a better tomorrow. NTA, growing with the nation.
Nigeria, the only country we can train remarkable potentials to excel. Let us believe in ourselves and change our attitude for the sake of our country and generations unborn. Let us revive our cultural values, which are our essence as a nation. Let us renew the spirit of patriotism and hope in our dear country. Do not take or give bribe. Be punctual always. No more African time. We can't expect to be global citizens and operate on African time. Join the queue. Insist that people are attended to on a first-come basis, no matter who they are or where they come from.
Nigeria, good people, great nation.
Make you report any crooked person, object or wakajube movement to police and security agent demo.
The security of our nation now work for all of us, so plus including me and you.
Nigeria, make we unite against terrorism. The Federal Ministry of Information and Culture gonna this message.
NTA Tuesday Live, a network issue-oriented innovation talk show.
Tonight we're taking a look at the Economic Stimulus Infrastructure Fund. Well, the tweets are here, but when we return after the last line of reports coming from Calabar and Maiduguri, we'll take our tweets and sustain the conversation, and you can keep pace with it. Let's take a listen, please.
With financial assistance from the federal government to drive the agro-industrialization policy of the present administration in the state, leading to acquisition of LGT agricultural equipment, residents are also keen into this agricultural agenda, which is also in line with federal government policy. This indicates hope for food security in the country. The Bakassi Deep Sea Port project now only needs the President's sovereign guarantee to legally usher in investors for full participation, while a 23 megawatt power plant, which has been completed, also needs the input of the federal government to make it commercially viable for the state government.
Is that the Bakassi Deep Sea Port is a reality that has come. It assists Nigeria to have an alternative maritime gateway for strategic and security reasons. It is a project beyond the carrying capacity of the state, but we believe that the federal government holds us through the process by supporting us with a sovereign guarantee. That will quicken the process.
In the area of road infrastructure, though the state and federal government are trying the best, especially along the Calabar-Itu Federal Highway, due to the enormous economic waste and hardship Nigerians encounter along that axis.
Calabar-Itu, some sections of it have already been awarded. For example, from Udukpani, from Calabar, it's supposed to be Calabar, Udukpani to Itu. But from Calabar, that is Tinapa Junction to Udukpani, about 11 kilometers. The Cross-River State government has expressed interest to dualize that stretch. You know, they have expressed interest to dualize that stretch. So right now, the government has awarded from Udukpani Junction to a gas plant. After the gas plant, the power plant, you know, about 9.7 kilometers, about 10 kilometers.
If If the synergy between the state and federal government is strengthened to tackle all these basic needs, it will not only help to reduce infrastructure deficit, but also improve the per capita income of the people, which will have a direct impact on the nation's economy. In Calabar, Paul Abel, NTA News.
The decade-long insurgency led to destruction of many structures used for service delivery and livelihood support for communities, which the United Nations, World Bank, and European Union Assessment Report in 2016 estimate at $5.9 billion in Borno State alone. Key players in the state appreciate the massive investments by the federal government in sectors such as security apparatus, livelihood assistance to affected people, as well as reconstruction of destroyed communities and establishment of the Northeast Development Commission, among other partnership programs. Worthy of note is the Youth Empowerment and Social Support Operations, YESO, and Community and Social Development Agency, which execute community and people-oriented projects.
In Borno particularly, we have registered over 223,000 households in YESO. And as at present, YESO had paid, basic grant to about 64,000 internally displaced persons. Our people are now in need of shelter, they are in need of livelihood, and they are in need of so many, other necessities of life.
So we are operating in 13 local governments now, with an estimated population of over 700,000 beneficiaries. From our assessment and records, water ranks first in the needs, and then followed by education, and then thirdly, electrification.
With current interventions in the area of water supply, education, skill acquisition, as well as electrification and healthcare by the federal government in partnership with the state and World Bank, why does Borno State needs more federal presence?
As of now, I think we can even say some of the roads that there are no roads. Most of our water facilities were destroyed by the insurgency. In fact, agri and other investments are no longer there. Definitely more than ever before, Borno now need more schools.
Other observers say the location of Borno State, bordering 3 countries of Niger, Chad, and Cameroon, makes it necessary for the federal government to provide modern rail transport, improve communication, and expand healthcare delivery to augment overstretched facilities.
What we need most are roads, water, security structures, and also we call it education.
These, among others, people say will greatly help to foster recovery and peace building for the most affected state by Boko Haram insurgency. Maiduguri, Muhammad Ibrahim, NTA News.
Couple of reports that those last two came from Calabar and Maiduguri. Well, the conversation once again is on economic stimulus infrastructure plan. Before we went, we said we'll take some tweets. A couple of them came in, starting with Law Alpha C says external borrowings should be deployed in tackling infrastructure deficit like transportation, power and provision of skill acquisition centers, and not on payments of salaries and other forms of recurrent expenditure. Noel Oba, we need to make intelligent conversation trends. That's what. This is a mind-blowing show currently being aired, but most of the youths are not even aware. That's from Noel Oba. Akewula Bello says no administration from 1999 show commitment to infrastructural development like this current government in power. Abdurazak Yahaya says SSC president is doing his job in all honesty and passion. Earnings trust for the government. Law Alpha says the present administration has proven that it can handle the volume of funds coming to the federal government. It behoves on the state governors to key in and possibly spread the repayment plan in view of the numerous fiscal responsibilities at the center. And the last one here says from Chimeziri, the federal government should compel the power companies to invest in maintaining power-related infrastructure to stop wastage and power available for businesses. The power companies are only interested in profit and not in delivering quality service. Those are the tweets. And before we went to break, Prof. Professor Kenefe said he had an observation. Okay?
Yes, we had the spirit and the letter of the Public Procurement Act was meant to address some of the concerns that were being raised, to the effect that even the Assembly wanted to benchmark prices. The institution set up by the Act, which is the Bureau of Public Procurement, is supposed to have a price database, and I think it has a price database. It's also supposed to issue no objection, and part of the due diligence that goes there is to check the application of those. So those are all, even consultancy rates being awarded, there are patterns where they say it's not going to allow more than 10%. There are. Because and I'm surprised that these matters are coming up. Do we have to amend the law? Do we have to extend the regulation? So there has to be so, because there is an institution that is there empowered to do these things. So that's what was my concern.
Okay. So you see, just to add to what Professor Kenefe said and my other issue that I want to raise. You see, there's nothing that is secret about governance. And there is nothing that cannot be made transparent. And there is nothing that makes it impossible for every single governmental agency to be linked. Now, in the spirit of the IPPIS, and with the reforms being undertaken by my friend at the budget office, I think it is high time we develop a software that will infuse into it benchmark prices for every single item to be procured, link to the Bureau of Public Procurement, link to the budget office, and link to every single MDA, so that let the budget presentation and the call circular be automated and be made online, so that immediately any single MDA impute any item into that software, it will trigger a signal to budget office, to BPP, once the amount for that item is over and above the imputed benchmark. This is possible, this is doable, this is realizable. Within 90 days, Nigerians can develop this software and put it into use.
Okay, it's a perfect lead-in.
But added to this, the issue that I want to say, and which Ingilari is doing,
go ahead.
Is please, the Ministry of Information and National Orientation should devise a strategy to use the most deepest and the most closest and the most affordable means of communication to educate Nigerians of what federal government is doing in order to make the positive changes and transformation required. Unfortunately, a lot of the governmental agencies are doing so much that nobody is publicizing. If you look at the quantum of the budget that we do have at the federal government level, what governmental agencies are generating and spending is much more than the total budgetary provision. We have a lot of governmental agencies generating money, but nobody is even propagating what they are doing, and they're injecting money into the economy, but nobody is aware of what is happening. So I think we need a more better coherent communication strategy to bring people to knowledge what the government is doing. But beyond bringing people to know what the government is doing, let the communication strategy be responsive or be people-oriented, to get responses from the people, so that those responses can serve as inputs into modification of existing policy or to initiate new policies.
Thank you. Before you respond to that, let me get Dr. Kengu. Somebody has raised something regarding power here. That is Chimeziri. He says the federal government should compel the power companies to invest in maintaining power-related infrastructure to stop wastage and power available for businesses. Now, if in all this, if in the end we don't have available power in sufficient quantity, will we move forward?
Okay, you see, I wanted to. You asked the question: How are people? The first question you asked is how are people going to be captured in all this?
Yes. I use the word a common man.
Yes, a common man. Now,
because
I'll get to power.
Beautiful.
Okay, I'll get to power. But let me start from what you call your mass transportation. Let's start from the rail. There are two services that the rail gives to you, what you call your load value and what you call your human cargo. Now, apart from serving as a major system for bulk transportation, 80% of those who use the rails are actually your low and medium income people. True? And a lot of these rails, like in our own days when we were in secondary school, my parents used to be in Nsuka, I was in Government College, Umaya. All our school needed to do was to take us to the rail station. And it got us all the way to Enugu, and our parents came to pick us. And then those of us that were coming even up north traveled all that way. Now, power also has two sides to it. You have energy and you have power. What is generated is power. What is used is energy. Now, to be able to simplify it, you now have what you call your megawatts and your kilowatts. What comes into your homes is your kilowatt hours. Now, for power, there are two major challenges. First challenge is the technology you use in generating your power. Second challenge is what you call your base load off-taker. And this is where, as a country, we have not been able to get it right. And that base load off-taker is that person who is able to take your power on what they call power purchase contracts, as against what we have in Nigeria, which is what we call your power purchase agreements. Now, where you now have the bulk trader now taking that bulk power. Now, what people do not know is that you have more subsidy in power than you have in any other thing. For you to be able to now get this power into your homes at the level of what you call your kilowatt hours. And this is where your industrialization actually comes in. This is where your mines come in. In South Africa, with 40 million or about 50 million persons, they are generating 40,000 megawatts of electricity, 80% of which is being consumed by their mines. Now, when they were showing the intro of the Enugu rail, and I said to you something, a lot of Nigerians also do not know that Enugu rail was constructed against a loan of 300 million pounds that was issued by the British government against the coal that was going to be supplied to them. Today you have 3 billion tons of coal found in Enugu, not touched. Because statistics show that less than 1 million metric tons of coal were ever taken out. People are also forgetting that Port Harcourt Seaport was built specifically to be able to handle coal. Are you listening to me, sir? Okay? The only washery, the major infrastructure in Port Harcourt Seaport is the coal washery that is still there as we speak. So what does this mean? Federal government does not need to go to anywhere to be able to fund that corridor. Federal government does not need to go to anywhere if we are able to do two things. First, remember that we were the biggest exporters.
So just hang on, just a second, please. This caller has been on. Let's hear what he has to say.
Okay.
Jude is calling in from Owerri. Hello, Jude. Hello, Jude. You're on to Tuesday Live.
Yes, okay. Good evening, our guests. Yeah, my name is Chief Jude Ubaja. I come from Imo State. Yes, there is absolutely nothing wrong for a country to borrow for the development of critical infrastructures like power, which is an engine room that drives technological, industrial, and scientific development of any country. Mr. President, as far as I'm concerned, Mr. President's name is synonymous with anti-corruption. Therefore, there should be no fear in the utilization of the amount borrowed for the purpose it is meant for. Mr. President, to the best of my knowledge, cannot afford to superintend over a borrowed amount that will eventually end up into private pockets, as was the case with the previous administrations in the past. And Mr. President, like I know, is also a no-nonsense man. I therefore enjoin Nigerians to align themselves completely with this borrowing plan of Mr. President, as it portends very great hope for the development of critical infrastructures like power, road, turnaround maintenance of existing refineries and building of new ones. I mean, to stop the importation of petroleum products with this attendant monumental economic benefits to the country, among many others, inherent in the borrowed amount. If borrowing to develop our critical infrastructure to at least attain a rapid economic and national development is unable, as is being insinuated by some school of thought. And the failure to do so and suffer very enormous economic retrogression is another evil. I'm sure that Nigerians will certainly choose the lesser evil, which is borrowing, to achieve rapid economic and national development. I therefore enjoin Mr. President to set up a committee that will oversee the utilization of this loan to ensure that nobody or group become a clog in the wheel of progress in the effective utilization of the amount, while the President National Assembly should live up to their oversight functions for the same purpose. The National Assembly is equally enjoined to make laws that will spell out different penalties for culprits of any form of embezzlement public fund, including they will be below the amount, so that at the end, Nigeria will realize fully the purpose for which this amount is borrowed. Thank you very much, and God bless you.
Thank you, Jude. Called in from Owerri. Jude is actually a regular caller on Tuesday Live.
Okay, so I wanted to conclude because I needed to set the background. Now let us go to power. There are 3 or 4 major sources of power generation. The easiest for us to do is gas. We have a country that is flaring 2.2 trillion cubic feet of gas annually. We are building what you call the AKK pipeline, and then you're now building the international one that's going all the way to Algeria. All we need to be able to solve our power problems is just not only to depend on our dams, but to be able to now imagine a situation where that gas pipeline has compression points at every industrial unit, where you are able to clean that gas. Then you are able to do 3 things: generate power, okay, produce CNG, produce LNG, against probably a mine that is going to be bringing for you 1 billion or 100 billion, 100,000 metric tons of goods. Imagine if that mine was also going to be supported by an agricultural field, an agricultural cluster that was going to be giving you both your crops and your tree crops and your cash crops and your food crop and your ornamentals. Kenya today is generating so much funds from just selling rose flowers.
Sorry to interrupt you again. Let's take this caller from Oyo, Abubakar. Hello, Abubakar. Hello, Abubakar. We're on to Tuesday Live.
Hello, good evening.
Good evening. Go ahead, please.
Good evening. So, I want to congratulate Mr. President for his re-election. Hello?
We can hear you. Go ahead, Abubakar.
Okay. I want to congratulate Mr. President for his re-election of the second time. But I just want to appreciate Mr. President of his good things that he's doing. But I'm praying to him that Allah should continue to guide him to the right path.
Okay, thank you. Dr. Atu, you need to quickly conclude.
Yes, okay. I think the important thing I wanted to say is that power is not the issue. The obstacle for your power is why you don't have power. Okay, the moment you're able to build what you call your baseload obstacle to be able to take your power, and this is where now what you call your allied infrastructure come in. Power alone will not solve your problem. You will need to also support it with first the primary obstacle, and then what you call your secondary services. So the moment you're able to understand it, you now ask yourself, who now becomes your baseload off-taker, and you solve that problem.
Okay. Now, before you take on the next issues, these tweets are more or less directed at you. Let me read them so that you can respond at once. Wow. The first one says, coming from Bo Sarumen, good evening, sirs. I like the way you analyze issues in Nigeria, but sorry, that one just pushed it up. But help talk to the federal government to give NPAR beneficiaries permanent jobs. Thanks. Next one says, we heard a lot of economic stimulus schemes, from social intervention to agri schemes. Can the government be publishing on a periodical basis how much employment spent by this government from its inception to date. How long will it take this government to finish the Abuja Metro? Let me stop here. When you respond, take the response. Yeah. That's after.
Okay, so there's a load of things that have gone about around the table that I need to address. So let me start from my brother, Professor Dama's submission. He touched on something very important. He was laying out a concept of what interagency cooperation could look like in terms of automating certain processes that would ensure that we check leakages. Ironically, within this economic stimulus plan, we actually have, funny enough, $500 million set aside from the World Bank, monitored and evaluated by the World Bank, for a fiscal governance implementation program, FGIP. Anybody can Google FGIP, but it essentially links through a series of ICT technologies, the EFCC, with the Office of the Accountant General of the Federation, almost as if they were listening to you when they implemented it, when they put it in place, with several other agencies, the National Bureau of Statistics, I mean, so many agencies. Now, what that is essentially going to do is actually get to the point of what he is asking to get done. So that's already in the stimulus plan, and that's going to be implemented. The next point is the issue of public-private partnership, which you mentioned, PPP. Very important. We all like that concept. All of us like that concept. But all of us would equally agree that in the Nigerian context, it has not worked out the way that it does in theoretical documents or in the academia, right? Because of the issues that we all know about. They are now using their private sector funds to fund the construction of these roads, right? At the highest quality, we're supervising, we're overseeing at the highest quality. Then we now repay in the form of tax relief, tax credit, but we don't do it at once because we recognize that we need to save our revenues and have bulk revenue. So we've calibrated tax returns, the tax credits. So for example, if you pay 10 billion naira to build a road for the federal government, instead of paying you 10 billion when you're done, we would now pay you 1 billion over 10 years so that we don't hurt our revenue too much. So that's another kind of PPP arrangement that I think has worked in terms of our infrastructure. The other one I would mention is Presidential Infrastructure Development Fund, PIDF. Obviously, that's looking at the 155 billion naira Abuja-Kaduna-Kano 6-lane expressway that we're putting in place, the 206 billion naira Second Niger Bridge, which is now at a decking phase. We're excited about that. And of course, the over 100 billion naira Lagos Ibadan Expressway, which has 4 new interchanges, and we've also added some lanes. All of that is getting done with a collaboration, a unique collaboration between the federal government and, of course, the NSIA, and they're paying contractors directly to take it out of the kind of procurement process that has affected the implementation or project delivery of such projects in the past. Now, the last thing I think is very, very important is when we look at the issues of power. I think you're looking at the larger conversation about what Mr. President has done in terms of ensuring that we deal on a government-to-government basis when we enter into our bilateral deals. I mean, I can reel them off. If you're talking about geosciences with Russia, it's government-to-government. If you're talking power with Siemens, which I'm going to get into in a moment, government-to-government. I mean, Brazilian government with our agricultural mechanization scheme, government-to-government. If we look at defense, the 12 Mi-35 attack helicopters with Russia, government-to-government. And finally, of course, the Tucano fighter jets with the U.S. government, government-to-government. At every turn, Mr. President has cut out the middlemen and ensured that we don't get shortchanged in the execution of these deals. So when we talk about power specifically, because that's what was asked about, there are a few different things that are going on. You have a $1.6 billion transmission rehabilitation and expansion program, TREP, which is largely funded by the World Bank at interest rate percentages between 1% and 3%. That money is already in place. We don't have to go searching for it. It's already there for us, and we're already implementing that program. By 2023, it's very clear by the roadmap that we will have in transmission, we will be transmitting 20,000 megawatts capacity on our transmission lines by 2023 as a result of the TREP program. It's currently in implementation right now. We're bringing in the first ever code line in the history of Nigeria. A code line essentially is you have a single set line, a double set line, and then a code line. Single set line are the kind of traditional colonial lines that we've had for a long time, which can only transmit up to about 300 megawatts per line, which is not great, right? Now, we have double set lines, which we're putting in around the country, but the code line is very key because it allows you to transmit up to 2,400 megawatts per line. So we're right now, we're building a code line from Kaduna into Kano, for example, that's going to supply Kano with more power than they've ever had before, because we recognize that that's a critical industrial hub. So that transmission program is on one end. The other end, I just wrap this up very quickly, is the issue of generation and, most importantly, distribution, because that's where we really have problems. The Siemens deal is very clear. What has happened is that in another government-to-government transaction, of the 100% of the funding of the Presidential Power Initiative, PPI, which is also known as the Siemens deal, 80% is funded from the German Export Credit Agency, a German state-allied export bank. They pay Siemens directly from the German Export Credit Agency. The counterpart fund is 20% from the Federation account. So we pay from Federation account directly to the German government. So no money whatsoever goes through the traditional Nigerian procurement process at all. It's all paid directly to Siemens, so there's no possibility of NIPP-style diversion like we saw in 2005 and all of that. That's out of play. So now it's all about the implementation. They have the money, they're bringing in the items. They've already done a forensic technical audit of every piece of distribution infrastructure across all the states of the Federation. On the basis of that audit, they were able to see what needs to be newly constructed, reconstructed, or upgraded. On the basis of that, they now built a roadmap in conjunction with the distribution asset owners that has now laid out exactly how much and what the terms are. Right now, we're at the stage of financial closing. We hope to sign that by January, and between January and July, the manufacturing in Germany of all the items that are going to be coming in for execution, for implementation. Implementation will start, the construction will start in Nigeria hopefully by July. And we're saying to Nigerians that by December 2021, we would have increased our distribution capacity from 3,000 megawatts, where it is right now, to 7,000 megawatts, which means that by December 2021, we will no longer have the crisis of stranded power. Whatever we generate, transmit, will get into the homes and businesses of Nigerians according to our roadmap by December 2021, and there's absolutely nothing in the way.
Okay, the last three tweets, yes, let me just take these three tweets, then you respond. The first one here is from Chimizire, and it still links to power. It says, any government that solves the power challenge in Nigeria has solved 40% of Nigeria's economic and infrastructural problems. Achieving these should include the making prepaid meters available and affordable. These will make power companies to improve their services. Next one comes from Muhammad Kuranga. Thanks for enlightening us on all the happenings at the federal level, but I want to implore you to have a look at the time if it can be reversed to benefit more viewers, most especially the youth. God bless Nigeria. And the last one by Muhammad Kuranga. I love your truthful, that's all of you, truthful and sincere discussions on the developmental projects that will have geometrical impact on the lives of Nigerians. Good luck. But quickly, before I allow Professor Kane if I respond, let me respond to Muhammad Kuranga. Tuesday Night Live has been on the NTA network for over a decade, and it has been the time for it because of the time and the seriousness it deserves. This is the time for it. It's for the youths to get into it, make time to watch it. However, there is a repeat segment of this program, abridged to 1.5 hours, not 2 hours, that runs Friday night, which is Saturday morning, 2 a.m. to 3:30 a.m. So if you follow this, if you're not able to watch it on YouTube from 10:30 p.m. on Tuesday to 12:30 a.m. the following morning, make time to watch it Friday night and Saturday morning, 2 a.m. to 3:30 a.m. That's the time for now.
Or you on social media,
or on social media also. Or you follow the Twitter handle. Even after the program, the discussions continue on our Twitter handle, which is at NTA Tuesday, at Tuesday Live NTA, beg your pardon. So, Prof.
Yeah, I just want to address the concern raised by Professor Dam.
And after you, he will take on.
Yes.
We don't have much of the time.
Yes, about the revenue generation agencies and not playing ball. It's the Fiscal Responsibility Act of 2007.
to only set up the Fiscal Responsibility Commission, but Section 21, 22, and 23 of the Fiscal Responsibility Act mandated it to receive audited accounts from all there are 122 agencies listed under the Act that should be making those returns. And apart from those, they also have an operating surplus template, which was designed by World Bank, that is in place, requiring them to remit 80% of their operating surplus every month. That's not what they're doing. In fact, over the last 11 years, from 2007 to 2018, only 1.4 trillion has been collected from those. The practice is this. They carry on spending to the end of the accounting year. Then many of them do one set of accounts for the Auditor General, and then do a separate set of accounts for the Fiscal Responsibility Commission. And some of those two accounts don't talk to each other. So, and that's what I have been saying. We know how we really just persecuted TSA, and we now have trillions hanging around in our accounts. Excellent. We took the money off the central commercial banks. Let's do this. There are some laws establishing some of those MDAs that actually set their own limits. I understand that. And in fact, FAN, the Federal Aviation Authority, is just one good case where the enabling law was recommended 20% to be paid. And I fully subscribe to that, because when you have an agency that pays all its bills, they simply appear on the budget just for accountability. Not that they spend it, they don't take money from government, but they still appear there. They do all their capital financing, the airports, the tracks, the systems, safety systems, and then you sort of, where you have those that are spending a lot of capital expenditure of their money, I think they should deserve some serious consideration, because at the end of the day, we want to encourage capital expenditure from those MDAs rather than just blow the money, go abroad, and then give us some accounts.
Thank you, Professor Dharma. Just in conclusion, and I will love you to speak to Nigerians. All this is for Nigerians. And for anything to work, executed by government, initiated by government, it deserves the people to understand why it has to work.
Well, you see, Nigerian economy is a big economy. It's the biggest in Africa. And as I've said, consultative collaboration and cooperation among all the tiers of government is extremely important. Our tax collection ratio is extremely low. But tax collection in any economy is a function of the size of the economy. Now, with all the stimulus packages being put in place at the federal level, with the executive order number 7, with the fact that we are spending so much on infrastructure in order to stimulate the economy, and with the intended reverting back the country to national development planning culture, what I am appealing passionately, particularly on the part of the governors, is that we have a terrible time bomb of massive youth unemployment, and it's increasing. The only way we can absorb those young people into productive activity is through an expansionary economic policy. And an expansionary economic policy is not only the responsibility of the federal government, it's a collective responsibility for all. We need to spend so much in the economy, but at the same time, we have to think out of the box and put creative strategies of producing so much within the economy, so that when we are spending, a significant proportion of what we are spending is retained within the economy to expand employment, to create jobs, to improve income, reduce income inequality. But this cannot happen overnight. It has to be a product of cooperative consultation across bipartisan line.
Thank you so much. And on this note, I must say we have come to the end of Tuesday Live tonight. When the issue is insightful like this, even 4 hours will not be enough. It will 2 hours on Tuesday Live. Special Assistant to the President on Public Affairs at Jury in Galale. It was wonderful having your line of thought to the program.
Thank you for having me.
And Dr. Emeka Okengu, Development Economist and former consultant to the World Bank.
Pleasure. Thank you for having me. Thank you.
And Professor Kenny Faye, Development Economist and Macroeconomic Analyst. It was good having you.
Thank you very much.
And I must say, Nigerians have to know that Professor Nassif Dama made it all the way from a very difficult end to be on the program tonight. His contributions.
Thank you very much. Good morning, Nigeria, and may Allah bless Nigeria and Nigeria.
Amen. And for those who sent in tweets and you feel the time is not enough, the convention continues on the Twitter handle, which is at Tuesday Live NTA. Sustain the conversation there and always make time to be on Tuesday Live. For all those who called while reports were on, I could not take your calls. Keep faith and make another call next time on the program. Thank you for your tweets. If we didn't take it, it was just within the time allowed for the program. On behalf of all of us, thanks for watching.